All right, Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shah, Bahasham Rachak, Kodash, the honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, and wherever you may be, to you I say Shalom, Shalom, Shalom. All right, we're in Joshua chapter 10. We're just going to jump right into it. It says, Israel defeats the southern armies. Okay, so it says, Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, heard that Joshua had captured and completely destroyed Ai and killed its king, just as he had destroyed the town of Jericho and killed its king. He also learned that the Gibeonites had made peace with Israel and were now their allies, which is what we just read in the last chapter. All right, the Gibeonites, instead of rising up for war, they were too afraid, and so they attempted to lie, which they did and got away with it, to Joshua and the Israelites and all the elders of Israel, okay? But 3 days later, it was found out that they actually didn't come from a far country. They weren't all worn out and torn down. They actually lived very near us, okay? And so because of that lie, but because we're actually not, well, yeah, because of their lie, all right, they became slaves, all right? Hewers the wood and draws the water, but we couldn't kill them because we had also made pretty much a vow with them, all right? So they didn't lose their lives, but they became slaves because we found out about their deceit. Okay, they lied and said that they came from a far country and they lived amongst us. All right, talking about the moldy bread and all these different things. They really played into the role, but the Spirit of the Lord found them out. So he says he also learned that the Gibeonites had made peace with Israel and were now their allies. He and his people became very afraid when they heard all this because Gibeon was a large town. Okay, so you know, and those were a lot of people who became slaves, all right, under the Israelites. It says, as large as the royal cities and larger than I. All right, now, when you go into the royal cities, there's 5 royal cities. As a matter of fact, let me try to grab. I want to read this in the KJ. I'm sorry, the NLT, but because they have 5 royal cities. I'm not sure if it'll come up here. Um, it mentioned them later on. All right, let's see if we can punch in royal cities real quick. Royal cities. Probably should put 5, but it's okay. We'll see if we can find what we can find. Um, so it just says, yeah, but it does mention those particular cities, what they are. There were 5 particular major cities of these Canaanites. Okay, that's why it says that there. So yeah, it says that they feared greatly because Gibeon was a great city, all right, as one of the royal cities, so as large as one of the royal cities, and because it was greater than I, and all the men thereof were mighty. Okay, whereof at the look, it was greater than I, and all the men thereof were mighty. And it goes to show you, all right, the terror that the Lord brought forth. Oh, and we're supposed to read the KJ, the NLT, right? But yeah, it says, and the Gibeonite men were strong warriors, stronger than the men of Ai. But yet they were too afraid to fight against the Israelites because of the name of the Heavenly Father that had spread. Okay, so instead they resulted in deceit and ended up being slaves. But they didn't lose their lives, right? So and they get off better than the rest of their brethren. So King Adonizedek of Jerusalem sent messengers to several other kings: Hoham of Hebron, Piram of Jarmuth, Japhia of Lachish, and Debir of Eglon. Come and help me destroy Gibeon, he urged them, for they have made peace with Joshua and the people of Israel. Okay, so they're pretty much, in the spirit, like we're pissed off and we're about to fight. All right. So King Adonizedek of Jerusalem sent messengers, okay, to several other kings. Now, no, now, don't get confused, because maybe if you never read this count, this is not talking about some king of the Israelites, all right? This is talking about the Canaanite men, because remember, we're going to take their lands, all right? So Jerusalem, all these different places were inhabited by the heathen, okay? So this is the king that was over Jerusalem before we took over Jerusalem. So don't get confused thinking that this was an Israelite rising up. You might be thinking, why would the Israelites be fighting, calling together, a bunch of heathen kings to fight against the other Israelites? Because it's not Israelites, right? So just in case, because maybe someone is new and not understanding the history there, so no one's confused. So it says, "Come and help me destroy Gibeon," he urged them, for they had made peace with Joshua and the people of Israel. So they were like, man, to hell with Gibeon. All right, these guys they're sellouts. All right, you ain't no Israelite, Gibeon, you a sellout. So he was like, hey, so I heard what they did. You know what? Let's hey bank, okay? Let's get together and we're gonna take them out, man. Cause they folded. All right, they should have been fighting, but they folded. All right. So it says so these five Amorite kings, okay, remember we talked about the Amorites, they're going to pop up a lot. Majority of these battles were fought, were against the Amorites, all right? But it wasn't just only them, okay? So these five Amorite kings combined their armies for a united attack, okay? They moved all their troops into place and attacked Gibeon. Now, mind you, these are our slaves now, okay? It says the men of Gibeon quickly sent messengers to Joshua at his camp in Gilgal. Okay, now being a good slave, they did what? They sent messengers. Okay, because we don't give a damn about the heathens, but just to come from a different angle for a second to make the point. If you were these Amorites or these heathens, all right, and these are your fellow, brothers from down the line from whatever different tribe they're from, but these are basically your people, and they have made peace with the enemy who's coming to take our lands, and they became slaves, all right, and they're at peace with the enemy. You be pissed off too, and you want to go and destroy them too. Okay, so we understand your thinking, but you're still heathens. The men of Gibeon quickly sent messengers to Joshua at his camp in Gilgal. Don't abandon your service now, all right? They pleaded. Come at once, save us, help us. For all the Amorite kings who live in the hill country have joined forces to attack us. And yeah, they had to be pissed off too, because I'm pretty sure they didn't need all of them, all right? But also, you could factor in the fact that they did say that those Gibeonites were mighty men, but as mighty as they were, any army that is, okay, you're not gonna face that many men. All right, yeah, as mighty as your men are, you can't face. Hey, look at the 300 movie, right? As mighty as the 300 were, they lost because there's just too many men. Now, if you want to speak biblically, because that is real life, on the accounts where the Lord is fighting for us, oh, we can win any battle. All right, we can take down an army with 10 men if that's what the Lord wants. Okay, so but that's all besides the point. Let's keep going. So they got together. They was like, you know what? We're going to start destroy these traitorous Gibeonites who made a pact with the enemy. Come at once, save us, help us. For all the Amorite kings who live in the hill country have joined forces to attack us. So Joshua and his entire army, including his best warriors, all right, left Gilgal and set out for Gibeon. Do not be afraid of them, the Lord Yahweh said to Joshua, for I have given you victory over them. That's all we need right there in verse 10. Okay, don't be afraid. Okay, this might be one of the times where it says, "Be ye not afraid." I'm not sure. Let's see what it says in verse 8 in the KJV. And Yahweh said unto Joshua, "Fear them not, for I have delivered them into thine hand. There shall not a man of them stand before thee." Okay, but there's often times where it says, "Be ye not afraid." All right, neither doubt. Okay, but the point I was getting to is that's the confirmation. Once the Lord tells us, "Hey, the battle is yours," you think the Lord's going to lose? No, man. That's not a toss up. That means victory is already yours. You just gotta go fight the battle. Do not be afraid of them. Yahweh said to Joshua, "For I have given you victory over them. Not a single one of them will be able to stand up to you." Joshua traveled all night from Gilgal and took the Amorite armies by surprise. Because mind you, now in the last chapter it tells us that it took 3 days. Okay, now 3 days later we found out the Gibeonites were lying, and then it says we went to go and check them about it. But it also took 3 days to get there. Okay, so so when it says he traveled all night, all right, this was a good travel there. All right, because these Gibeonites were 3 days away. Okay, so keep that in mind. Joshua traveled all night from Gilgal and took the Amorite armies by surprise. Okay, because they didn't expect us to show up. But the Gibeonites sent a messenger. Yahweh threw them into a panic, and the Israelites slaughtered great numbers of them at Gibeon. See, they were huffing and puffing against their own people. All right, these Gibeonites, because they saw them as traitors. But then when it came to the Israelites coming, all right, that you know that huff and puff, winded out on them. Okay, Yahweh threw them into a panic, and that's why Yahweh threw them into a panic, not because of us. All right, Yahweh threw them into a panic, and the Israelites slaughtered. Like it makes me think about 2 Ezra chapter 13. It says they were so afraid, yet just fight. The Lord is going to make these nations fight. In this end game, World War III. But that's besides the point. Just kind of making a note there. And the Israelites slaughtered great numbers of them at Gibeon. Then the Israelites chased the enemy along the road to Beth Horon, killing them all along the way at Azekah and Makeda. All right. As the Amorites retreated down the road from Beth Horon, Yahweh destroyed them with a terrible hailstorm from heaven that continued until they reached Azekah. The hail killed more of the enemy than the Israelites killed the sword. And what was this? This was a great account, another account of the Lord raining down trouble from out of the chariots, man, all right, out of the spaceships, okay, or controlled by it, all right, because obviously the hail comes from the sky, out of the clouds. But I think I kind of didn't explain it the best way I want to explain it, but you get the point I was trying to make, all right. This is the Lord, like kind of like when He brought fire down on Sodom and Gomorrah. That rained down from the chariot. Okay, so He's controlling. Once again the weather. All right, and mind you, the last time we heard about a great hail, if I'm correct, that was in Egypt. Okay, where it was the hail mingled with fire and destroyed animals. Destroyed crops, cattle, and people. Okay, so it says, Yahweh destroyed them with a terrible hailstorm from heaven that continued until they reached Azekah. The hail killed more of the enemy than the Israelites killed with the sword. All right, so the Lord was really, really fighting in this battle. Okay, but He said, "What? The victory is already yours," didn't He? You thought He was lying? Of course not. Okay, it says, on the day Yahweh gave the Israelites victory over the Amorites, Joshua prayed to Yahweh in front of all the people of Israel. He said, "Let the sun stand still over Gibeon and the moon over the valley of Ajalon." All right. So let's see if we can find the valley of Ajalon. We haven't been mapping anything here. Images, images. Okay. I see Beth Horon, lower and upper. And I see Ajalon. All right. Trying to find out the general area. Oh, there's Bethlehem. So like northwest from the area of Bethlehem and Jerusalem, all that kind of stuff. And actually you can see over here where it says Gibeon, Kirjath, Jerim, Beeroth, Kephirah. Okay, and going back further to the east, you will see Ai and Jericho and all those places there. Let's see if we can find one more possibly. What's this? Okay, Ajalon, Valley of Ajalon. So we've kind of pretty much there's not too many here's another one. Yeah, see, I just mentioned, look, there's Hebron up above that, Bethlehem, Jerusalem, okay, and then you see Beth Horon and Ajalon, right below Beth Horon, Ajalon Valley. So yeah, we're pretty much in the general proper location. Oh, that's showing actually where the sun was, supposedly. Archaeology understanding, da, 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 da. And it's blurry, so I can't see it, but I'm pretty sure it probably says Ajalon. There's the sun. All right, so we got a general idea where we are on the map, right? So on the day Yahweh gave the Israelites victory over the Amorites, Joshua prayed to Yahweh in front of all the people of Israel. He said, "Let the sun stand still over Gibeon and the moon over the valley of Ajalon." So the sun stood still and the moon stayed in place until the nation of Israel had defeated its enemies. Okay, and it makes me think about how this would look, because you have Gibeon and then you have the valley of Ajalon. Nah, because when you think about it, it wasn't like any kind of eclipse. It actually would have said that. Okay, I was just kind of thinking of what it would look like. but that would mean that both the sun and the moon were in this very same area, but it just said they were in two different places. I was just thinking, okay, nothing wrong with thinking, just trying to map it in my brain, okay. So it says, let the sun stand still over Gibeon and the moon over the valley of Ajalon. So the sun stood still and the moon stayed in place until the nation of Israel had defeated its enemies. Is this event not recorded in the book of Jasher? And no, the books of Jasher that we have today, well, they have today, because we don't have that stuff because it's crap. It's not the real book of Jasher, right? Like Enoch and any other books that you might read about, because they're mentioned, but there are no biblical references to it. But those are real books. But it's just the ones that are today are not the real books. They were just produced, to fool people and to make money. So it says, is this event not recorded in the book of Jasher? The sun stayed in the middle of the sky, and it did not set as on a normal day. There has never been a day like this one before or since. Okay, where Joshua asked the Lord to, or it'll get to all that. It'll say what it says there. But yeah, there's never been a day where the sun stopped this course and the moon stopped this course, because like when you look up in the sky, like the sun out now, at some point in the day you'll see the moon. Eventually you won't see the moon anymore because it's going in this course. All right. So we're talking about the sun stopping its course, okay, and the moon stopping its course and staying there, okay. So imagine, you look it up and seeing the sun and the moon wherever it is right now, and they just stay in the same place, all right, all day long. That's unheard of because they both have a course that they have to, there's a cycle, all right. So it says there has never been, and the scriptures say that they would never faint in their watches. So it says, there has never been a day like this one before or since, when Yahweh answers such a prayer. Surely Yahweh fought for Israel that day. So no one has ever, heard such a thing. Where Joshua, asked, what he asked for, and then the sun actually stood still, the moon actually stood still, because the Lord hearkened to the words that Joshua spoke. Okay, there's never been a thing like that, you know, before or after. Not saying it was the greatest, celestial event ever, but it's just that this was the only one of that magnitude. No one has ever done that except from the words of Joshua, but the Lord had to hearken to those words in order for it to come, to pass, and that's what He did. Then Joshua and the Israelite army returned to their camp at Gilgal. Okay, so it says Joshua kills the 5 southern kings. During the battle, the 5 kings escaped and hid in a cave at Makeda, which goes into our thumbnail. I think we had a thumbnail there. All right. It says, when Joshua heard that they had been found, he issued his command: cover the opening of the cave with with large rocks. I think it says a large stone, okay, in the KJV, but with a large stone with large rocks, and place guards at the entrance to keep the kings inside. So I'm pretty sure they wouldn't be able to move it anyways, but just in case, I want you to make sure, all right, that you keep guards so that they don't even think about trying to come out. And if anyone comes to their aid, all right, you're there, okay? The rest of you, all right, excuse me, get something on. All right, it says, the rest of you continue chasing the enemy and cut them down from the rear. Don't give them a chance to get back to their towns, for Yahweh, your power, has given you victory over them. That's twice. Okay, that's twice. All right. So Joshua and the Israelite army continued the slaughter and completely crushed the enemy. They totally wiped out the 5 armies, except for a tiny remnant that managed to reach their fortified towns. Then the Israelites returned safely to Joshua in the camp at Makeda. After that, no one dared to speak even a word against Israel. See? Because they knew better, all right? At that point, it's like, you see what we just did, right? That was our power, all right? Fighting for us, okay? Then Joshua said, remove the rocks covering the opening of the cave and bring the 5 kings to me. So they brought the 5 kings out of the cave, the kings of Jerusalem, Hebron, Jarmuth, Lachish, and Eglon. And then, mind you, if we go back to the top of the chapter, these kings didn't join up to fight the Israelites. They joined up to crush their own brothers, the Gibeonites. But that's what drew the Israelites into the battle, which that was all playing out for the Lord, so we can sack these kings. Okay, and it's happening all at once. Check this out. It says, when they brought them out, Joshua told the commanders of his army, "Come and put your feet on the king's necks." And they did as they were told. All right. Now, if you're not familiar with that, the ancient custom of putting your foot on the neck of a defeated king or whoever is basically showing that you have complete power, control, and dominance over this individual. All right. We spoke about it briefly with the who was it? Was it Shalmaneser? Okay, the obelisk. Okay, of Shalmaneser, and he had his foot. I think it was on Jehu's neck, one of the Israelite kings. But it's the same thing there. Okay, so making their kings bow before you, and then putting your foot on their neck shows that you have them in complete subjection. That you entirely defeated them, their pride, their confidence and everything. That you have them under subjection. So it says, "Come," and he told his commanders of his army, "Come and put your feet on the king's necks," as they did, and they did as they were told. Don't ever be afraid or discouraged, Joshua told his men, and that's a great boost for their morale. You see, because Joshua really should have been the one to put his feet on all these kings' necks, but he called his commanders, all right, to show you that you don't have to fear these men, even though they're kings or any other king. You don't have to fear any of them because the Lord fights for us, you see? Don't ever be afraid or discouraged, Joshua told his men. Be strong and courageous, for Yahweh is going to do, there you go, for Yahweh is going to do this to all of your enemies. See, be ye not afraid, neither doubt, okay? For the Most High is your God. It says, then Joshua killed each of the 5 kings and impaled them on 5 sharpened poles, where they hung until evening. As the sun was going down, Joshua gave instructions for the bodies of the kings to be taken down from the poles. All right, because that was just in our custom, right? Someone shouldn't be up, when the sun is going down. All right, like when someone's crucified, it should be brought down and buried. All right, things of that nature. Okay. As the sun was going down, Joshua gave instructions for the bodies of the kings to be taken down from the poles and thrown into the cave where they had been hiding. All right, so the same cave that you thought was your safety is the same cave that you were brought out, and the same cave where your bones are thrust into. Then they covered the opening of the cave with a pile of large rocks, which remains to this very day. So they sealed it off. That became their tomb. The tomb that they thought was their escape became the tomb of their bones. All right, I believe this is the last section here. So it says Israel destroys the southern towns. Okay, it says that same day, Joshua captured and destroyed the town, all right, of Makeda. He killed everyone in it, including the king, leaving no survivors. He destroyed them all, and he killed the king of Makeda as he had killed the king of Jericho. Okay, so referencing Jericho because Jericho was major, man. All right, and did what? I forget exactly. Did he? I think did he cut his head off or something like that? Let's see if I can find the cross reference there if there's one. All right, to what he because it constantly mentions Jericho. So that would probably be around Joshua 6. So we go down here, if I'm correct. Okay, so they just uh I don't want to look too far into this, but I think you get the point. Yeah, you kind of get the point there. So let me go back here. Yep. So it says, yep. So he killed the king of Makeda as he had killed the king of Jericho. All right, put the king of Jericho to death. Verse 29 says, then Joshua and the Israelites went to Libnah and attacked it. There too, Yahweh gave them the town and its king. He killed everyone in it, leaving no survivors. All right, this twice. And then Joshua killed the king of Libnah as he had killed the king of Jericho. All right, once again, mentioned the same thing. From Libnah, Joshua and the Israelites went to Lachish and attacked it. Here again, Yahweh gave them Lachish. Joshua took it on the second day and killed everyone in it, just as he had done at Libnah. Okay, so that happened. So you're seeing that this is a campaign here. Okay, and we're kind of drum rolling these areas and these kings, and that's why it says the second day. During the attack on Lachish, King Horam of Gezer, or Gezer, however you want to pronounce it, arrived with his army to help defend the town. But Joshua's men killed him and his army, leaving no survivors. Then Joshua and the Israelite army went on to Eglon and attacked it. They captured it that day and killed everyone in it. He completely destroyed everyone, just as he had done at Lachish. From Eglon, right, Joshua and the Israelite army went up to Hebron and attacked it. Okay, and we know that Hebron was further south. All right, but from where he was now, all right. As a matter of fact, let's see if we can find Eglon, and we'll see. Yeah, we'll search whether he's going up or down, right? Because actually, he's going to the king. Okay, there's Eglon right there. But I need a better map. Um, one that's more zoomed out so we can actually see what we're looking at. Okay, there you see. Hey, there's Eglon. Whoa, whoa, what happened? What happened? Hold on. All right, so it threw me off. Here it is. So there you go. So you see you see Jericho, you see Gibeon, Jerusalem, Jarmuth, Hebron, Lachish, Eglon. All right, so it says he went. Did it say he went down or up to Hebron? Okay, so you kind of get a general idea of where we're traveling here, all right, on these campaigns. Yeah, it says they went up to Hebron. And that would make sense because it's not up, like straight up as you would think, straight north, but it was northeastward, all right? More so like northeastward, all right? So they went northeastward towards, back towards Hebron from Eglon, okay? So from Eglon, Joshua and the Israelite army went up to Hebron and attacked it. They captured the town and killed everyone in it, including its king, leaving no survivors. They did the same thing to all of its surrounding villages, and just as he had done at Eglon, he completely destroyed the entire population. All right, so this is a lot of battling, a lot of fighting, a lot of defeating. Okay, then Joshua and the Israelites turned back and attacked Debir. Okay, it says he captured the town, its king, and all of its surrounding villages. Okay, he completely destroyed everyone in it. And what, if you're noticing, what it's doing is consolidating all this history, because all of these accounts could have been really told on a higher level. Like, this is what happened when we went here, and this is how it happened. This is what happened when we were here. This is how it happened. All right, but it's typical battles. So we're getting it in a consolidated manner, but we're actually still getting all the history and accounts. He captured the town, its king, and all of its surroundings villages. He completely destroyed everyone in it, leaving no survivors. He did it to Debir and its king, just what he had done to Hebron and to Libnah and its king. So Joshua conquered the whole region. You see, the whole region. All right, the kings and people of the hill country, the Negev, the western foothills, and the mountain slopes. He completely destroyed everyone in the land, leaving no survivors, just as Yahweh, the power of Israel, had commanded. Let's see if we can get some of this. The Negev, okay, which that's a major portion of what is shown on the map. All right, there's another. Um, Here's another one. You see the Negev, okay? Basically, is what they've taken and preoccupied today as in the state of Israel, right? Southern Israel, okay? Let's grab the western foothills. Not the Carolina foothills, my man. Now I don't know if we get this. Yeah, we're probably not gonna get that one. No, not now. Back up. What else was here? And the mountain slopes. We definitely not good. As a matter of fact, let's see what it says in KJV, verse 40. So he smote all the country of the hills and of the south and of the vale and of the springs and all their kings he left. So it doesn't really say too much in the KJV. And the vale is just like the open valleys, you know. Yeah, there you go, lowland valley, strip west of Judah of Judean mountains, strip near coast of Carmel. Yeah, so they didn't really say too much. It actually gives a little bit. Oh well, let's see what the AMP says. AMP does a good job sometimes. So Joshua struck all the land, the hill country, the Negev, south country, and the lowland, which was the vale, right, and the slopes that descend to the Dead Sea. So all the way to the Dead Sea, right? And all their kings he left no survivor, but utterly destroyed all who breathe, all who breathe, just as Yahweh, the power of Israel, had commanded. So yeah, it's pretty much straightforward there. So let's go on back and finish this up. NLT. So Joshua conquered the whole region, the kings and people of the hill country, which they all have their in these different translations, they all have good things that you can point out and bring together. All right. So it says the kings and the people of the hill country, the Negev, the western foothills, and the mountain slopes. He completely destroyed everyone in the land, leaving no survivors, just as Yahweh, power of Israel, had commanded. Joshua slaughtered them from Kadesh Barnea to Gaza. All right. And we know Gaza is over there in on the western portion there, near the Jordan River. Joshua slaughtered them from Kadesh Barnea to Gaza, and from the region around the town of Goshen up to Gibeon. All right. So it says Joshua conquered all these kings in their land in a single campaign. So all these battles were a single campaign. Remember, it says the second day, right? So these men, all right, you could tell these men had the spirit of the Lord on them, all right, to have fought all these nonstop battles. That's a lot of men that they have to go through, okay, and slaughter, all right, and take over their territories and stuff like that. Do whatever they're going to do with it, okay. So Joshua conquered all these kings and their land in a single campaign. For Yahweh, the power of Israel, there you go, was fighting for his people. Light it up, okay. That's the key thing. Yahweh, power of Israel, was fighting for his people. All right. Then Joshua and the Israelite army returned to their camp at Gilgal. All right. Let's see. We'll go with that KJV. As I close off. Let's see if it said anything different there. And all these kings in their land did Joshua take at one time, because the power of Yahweh of Israel fought for Israel. And Joshua returned, and all Israel with them unto the camp to Gilgal. All right. So notice the camp still remained the same, because that's what was working. Okay, that was the headquarters at the moment. All right, it was a temporary headquarters, but that's where we were. The main camp was camped out as we would go out to these campaigns. Right. So yeah, that's the end of the book of Joshua, chapter 10. Lord willing, you were edified. To next time, Yahshua, I'm going to say shalom.